Thank you for joining us. Our special show today is about a cause that should concern us all. In this beautiful world, so much is unfortunately simply taken for granted. It's just way too easy for people to fall out of touch with reality. And education is an answer, and it's imperative for everyone to also learn the lessons of humanity's past. One of these lessons is remembrance of the Holocaust and why neither Jew nor Gentile should ever be permitted to forget the atrocities perpetrated by Nazi Germany during World War II. Our guest today is Professor Eduardo Kohn, who will tell us why it is essential for us to remember the lessons of the Holocaust, that dark period in history, and he will tell us also about the similarities between Islamofascism today and the brainwashing of Nazi youth back during World War II and prior to that. But first, we have this video and these messages.
In the 1930s, the danger of Nazism was there. It was in everything Hitler wrote and said, in everything the Nazi authorities did.
Dann wird das Ergebnis nicht die Bolschewisierung der Erde und damit der Sieg des Judentums sein, sondern die Vernichtung der jüdischen Rasse in Europa.
In the corruption of a whole generation of German youth through the propaganda of Nazism in schools. But people thought, well, this is a German problem, it's a limited problem. We have our own problems, we have our unemployment. And I think the same is true today. They don't connect the dots. They don't connect the acts together. They don't see that Islamic fundamentalism is a global network and a global problem.
There is no terrorist threat. There is no terrorist threat. Yes, there have been horrific acts of terrorism, and yes, there will be acts of terrorism again. But that does not mean that there's some massive terrorist threat.
We have to worry about terrorism. If terrorism had struck on the West Coast rather than the East Coast, some of the folks in Hollywood might have a somewhat different view.
In Second World War, the West was sleeping. The Munich Accords came regarding what should we do about this Adolf Hitler who wants to take over Czechoslovakia. So what did the parliament do in Great Britain? They got together and they said, well, we need to give Hitler land for peace.
In return for Hitler's guarantee of world peace, Chamberlain and Daladier prevailed upon Czechoslovakia to give up the Sudetenland without a fight. In Britain, a happy Chamberlain came back declaring he had achieved peace, peace in our time. One of the most tragic and ironic scenes in all history.
This morning, I had another talk with the German Chancellor, Herr Hitler. And here is the paper which bears his name upon it as well as mine.
Chamberlain believed that they could do a deal with Hitler, that Britain and Germany had a special affinity.
We regard the agreement signed last night and the Anglo-German naval agreement as symbolic of the desire of our two peoples never to go to war with one another again.
Winston Churchill had warned his country and his government that they were pursuing a disastrous course with regard to appeasing Germany.
Peace, it wasn't peace. By taking the Sudetenland, they had made Czechoslovakia defenseless, a ripe plum ready to fall into Hitler's lap. Within 6 months of declaring that he wanted no more territory anywhere, he violated the Munich Agreement. Austria and Czechoslovakia were gone without a fight, and Hitler was getting his control of Eastern Europe. Poland was next on the map.
Churchill never considered himself a great leader. He always considered that he had failed, because from 1933 to 1939, he had warned his country and his government. So when war came, and when in May 1940 he was asked to be Prime Minister, he felt he was only there because he had failed. That if he had been listened to, if the country had understood the German danger, if the country had allied with other states threatened by Germany, then this situation would never have come to pass.
When you ignore what people are saying, when they're actively, on a daily basis, calling for your own annihilation, calling for the annihilation of your country, you're ignoring them at your own risk.
The same thing is happening now again. History is repeating itself.
I was a very intense believer in the Nazi ideology. And I know what a supreme dedication to an ideology can do.
From an early age, Alfons Heck was influenced by the Nazi worldview. He joined the Hitler Youth at the age of 10, and by the end of World War II, he was a high-ranking officer of the Hitler Youth.
It is absolutely correct to say, if you can't learn from the events of Nazi Germany, you will not be able to grasp the true intent of the danger of the radical Muslim world today. You're simply hiding.
History has an unfortunate habit of always repeating itself.
This is exactly what happened in Germany. Now, can you imagine? We were enlightened people and we fell for this. Why wouldn't Muslims fall for this?
فاليهود هم اليهود هؤلاء هم الذين يجب أن يذبحوا ويجب أن يقتلوا.
They are killing the infidels just like the preacher in the mosque told them to do. It's their duty to kill them.
تا اسرائیل از صحنه روزگار حذف نشود، این فریادها به قوت خود باقی.
I watched anti-Semitism since I was a young kid, and now the world is reaping. These eggs are hatching, and what's coming out is literally something that comes out of Nazi Germany. The Boy Scouts in Nazi Germany, we had the youth. The youth was being robbed from being youth.
I think the worst form of child abuse is teaching a child to hate. What we have on Palestinian TV and on Saudi TV over and over again are little kids being taught songs, I want to be a suicide bomber.
And the youth who are listening to this day and night, what do you expect to happen?
This is a crime that the Muslim world commits against its children. Hitler committed a crime against young Germans. Took me a long time to see that. But what the Muslims do to their own children is even worse.
التي تصنع الفطير من دم الأطفال الأبرياء.
This is a war of propaganda in which the same techniques of subversion that we saw earlier in the challenge posed by fascism and Nazism are repeating themselves. we see that the undisputed leader of the Palestinian Arab national movement of the 1920s, 1930s and 40s, Haj Amin al-Husseini, the Mufti of Jerusalem, was a fervent admirer of Adolf Hitler.
The Mufti was one of the founders of the radical Islamic movement, and Hitler saw at once that this man not only could serve his purpose, but wanted to serve his purpose.
There is a very important meeting between Hitler and the Mufti of Jerusalem on the 28th of November 1941, of which we have a full protocol. And what Hitler explains is that this is first and foremost a war of extermination against Jewry. And he tells him to lock this secret in his heart. He is revealing it to the Mufti. It's extraordinary he should choose the leader of the Palestinian Arab National Movement for this revelation, which is in an official German document.
It seemed strange to us that a Mufti who was not a pure Aryan was being received by Hitler. But they said, no, we have the same goal, which is the extermination of the Jews.
The Mufti was sent to the Balkans, where he raised a Bosnian Muslim SS division.
He had several SS divisions, the Handschar division, for example, where they had nominally Croatian officers, but the rank and file of the unit were entirely Muslim, Arab Muslims, and they were bringing them in from all over the world.
I was utterly astonished that the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem had raised a Panzer division of Bosnian Muslims to fight along the Waffen-SS. The fanatic Muslim world and Hitler both agreed that no ideology can exist beyond theirs. It's all-encompassing.
A secular dogma like Nazism is less dangerous than this Islamofascism that we see today. It's less dangerous because Islamofascism has a religious twist to it. It says God the Almighty ordered you to do this, not the Führer, you know? So it is way more dangerous. It's trying to grow itself in 55 Muslim states. So potentially you could have a success rate of several Nazi Germanys if these people get their way.
They've been very clear about it. They're the same as Hitler's goals, you know. Kill all the Jews, crush the democracies, destroy Western civilization.
They wish to strike down the West.
They want to defeat the West. They want to defeat Christianity. They want to defeat Judaism.
Islam is superior than the Jews, than the Christians, than the Buddhists, than the Hindus. The only deen Allah accepts is al-Islam. And whoever seek any other deen apart from Islam will never be accepted.
أن الله عز وجل أوجب علينا أن ننشر هذا الدين في الأرض كلها.
It's very clear. We've heard it so many times from many Muslim leaders that they want to Islamize the world.
پیام انقلاب پیام جهانی است، در جغرافیا و زمان محدود نمی شود. تردید نکنید که ان شاء الله اسلام همه کجا رو فتح خواهد کرد؟ همه قله های جهان رو فتح خواهد کرد.
قد حكمنا الدنيا وسيأتي يوم والله نحكم فيه كل الدنيا. سيأتي يوم نحكم فيه أمريكا. سيأتي يوم نحكم فيه بريطانيا ونحكم فيه كل العالم.
Radical Islamic groups want to see the world unified under Islam.
It's only a matter of time until we rule Earth, until we control Earth.
One day, this very flag will fly over the Parliament in London. We will see this flag that will fly over the White House, and we will see the Black House, the Kaaba, will take over the whole world. Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
At the end of the day, Islam must control Earth, whether we like it or not. It's a promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a promise from Rasulullah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
started as a European war has developed, as the Nazis always intended it should develop, into a war for world domination. It is coming very close to home. Will our children too wander off in search of new gods? We do not accept, we will not permit this Nazi shape of things to come.
But we also know that the vast and overwhelming majority of Muslims here and abroad are decent and law-abiding people who abhor this act of terrorism every bit as much as we do.
So if they truly want to bring out the compassion and peace element in Islam, they really have to behave like it. They have to teach it in their schools.
احنا ما نجحنا في أن نحبب أولادنا إلى الحياة. علمناهم كما قيل كيف يموتون في سبيل الله. ولكننا لم نعلمهم كيف يحيون في سبيل الله.
It is the duty of all moderate Muslims to stand up and speak against the hate, to speak against the jihad.
إن هؤلاء أيها الإخوة الكرام هم من أعداء الإسلام. إن هؤلاء الذين يشوهون صورة الإسلام من أعداء الإسلام.
It is through hope and education that we will be able to win this war and accomplish peace.
With us now is Professor Eduardo Kohn. Professor, it's a real pleasure to have you on the show with us today.
Thank you.
And we just saw this video clip showing us excerpts of various people and their comments, whether it is John Loftus, who was with the Justice Department, and many other individuals really concerned with regards to World War II, the fascism, Nazi atrocities, and the similarity between Islamofascism and Nazi fascism of way back. So I'd like to ask you, in this world, how do you see the challenges facing humanity as a whole when we are seeing a kind of repeat in history where children are being brainwashed to hate the way the Nazi youth were? What are your thoughts with regards to this tendency of history to repeat itself?
Well, it's unfortunate, of course. It's a disgrace. The question of demonization of the Jewish people, the delegitimization of the Jewish people to have a state, and the double standard that they have with Jewish people and religion and how the Jewish people can develop. We thought when the Second World War II ended, everybody thought that it was too horrendous. The massacres and the Shoah and all what happened was extremely horrible. There were not words. We had to invent the words because there were not words to qualify. And everybody thought that it would start a new era. 60, 70 years later, to see children in Arab countries with the arms extended like the young kids in Nazi Germany.
Nazi salute, that's what it is.
Nazi salute. And knowing that they are learning the same books with the same hatred, and the teaching is the same hatred that it was taught in Nazi Germany, it's something that is difficult not to understand, but very difficult to accept.
What is so sad, Professor, is that in a spirit of cooperation and peace, Israel has so much to offer its Arab neighbors. They could make the whole region become a Switzerland. There could be cooperation, agriculture, so much could be achieved. It's a shame. And of course, there are many people in the Muslim world who are desirous of peace. They do not approve of the terrorism and all of that. But kind of other critics say not all people in Germany approved of what Hitler was doing, but nevertheless it happened, and maybe there is a moral responsibility of the masses to try to control what happens in their neighborhood. What are your thoughts on the fact that there are many good Muslims in the world who do not approve of this terrorism?
Not strong enough. That's what we are watching and seeing today. Because you see, Israel lives in a neighborhood, and of course countries don't move, they are there. And inside this neighborhood there is the Hamas, and of course people think sometimes that there has to be a peace and both they have to sit at the table, but we know that it's not possible. We know that the Hamas has said that they have no rush, they can wait 200, 300 years, but they will not sit at the table with Israel. The problem is that Hamas is supported by Iran, is supported by Syria, is supported by Arab states. So on one hand, it's very difficult to make peace when the other wants to wipe you off of the map, in the case of Israel. On the other hand, you have the Palestinian Authority, who is saying all the time that they want peace, but any time that they are very, very, very close, something always happens.
As they say, as Abba Evans said, the Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity.
Absolutely, and they miss a lot of opportunities.
Right.
And I think that they're missing now a great opportunity, because at this moment, Prime Minister Netanyahu and the counterpart in the Palestinian Authority, they absolutely know that this is a good moment, because there are very good interest of many powers to do this treaty, but let's be realistic, we don't see a very close future for that.
Unfortunately, what I'd like to bring us back to is the previous century. Why is it essential for neither Jew nor Gentile to be permitted to forget the realities and the atrocities perpetrated by Nazi Germany? Why do we need Holocaust remembrance?
It is essential. It is essential for many reasons. First of all, what happened in the Shoah never happened before and never happened after. It's unique. Unique the way it happened, so-called civilized country and its people.
You know, I have to interrupt you on that thought for a moment, because it's, I beg your pardon, it really troubles me that Germany, a land of a great culture, classical music, art and so forth, such a country with such great achievements, was nevertheless a country in which such a terribly evil process was permitted to take place. So I kind of think that if it is possible for such atrocities to be tolerated, what is the value of great science and great literature if it's not accompanied by a sense of moral responsibility?
It's a good question. Professor Daniel Goldhagen, in his book, The Volunteer Killers of Hitler, explains it very clearly. I mean, yes, Germany was a very cultured country with medical doctors and with lawyers, but was those medical doctors who made the experiences in Auschwitz and other camps. There were the lawyers who made the racist laws. There were the engineers who made Auschwitz, Treblinka, Majdanek and the others, the architects. So how a society can fall down in such an atrocity is a good example for humankind to learn the lesson. But this is our focus, and we try to do the best.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much for being with us, Professor. A real pleasure.
Thank you very much.
This concludes our special show for today with Professor Eduardo Kohn on remembrance of the Holocaust. I'm Richard Peritz. Thank you for being with us.